we're talking about Flower, the spiritual successor of that game company's previous game, Flow.
The game was again designed by Genova Chen and Nicholas Clark and released in 2009 on the PlayStation Network. The game's design was inspired by Chen's real-life experience of his move from Shanghai, China to Los Angeles to live in a more urban environment. Now let's talk about Flower's design. The game starts off on an apartment ledge, and on that ledge is a single flower. As you zoom into it, you're taken into the flower's dream. As you complete each of the flower's dreams, more flowers appear in the game containing a total of 6 flowers and a credits level. The level usually begins with a very short shot of an urban environment and then takes you into a more nature-like one. Starting off on the flower you picked, you pluck one of its petals and control the wind to move it around. You can bloom other flowers to collect flower petals, revive windmills, move rocks, and even color the grass.
I absolutely love the way the petals look in this game. There's just something calming about all these bits of color on your screen at the same time.
The effect on the petals was actually created accidentally when the game was in production by a glitch. The creators liked it so much they kept it in. That's where we get that bouncing effect from the petals. Also, whenever you complete a certain task in that level, the camera will zoom out and go into a cinematic shot for a minute, so it can show your task being completed. When this happens, your petal storm seems almost animal-like it's actually watching the events happen. It's awesome. The visuals in the flower's dreams are simply breathtaking. Every graphic, every color, every blade of grass is perfect. The levels range from being in a brightly colored open field to being in a most dark and gloomy electrical storm. At some points, it almost looks like the flowers are in watercolor. I've only seen this portrayed in one other game, and that's June's stage Heavenly Garden Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
I may be praising this factor too much, but in something like video games where the graphics tend to be more cold and mechanical, it's really cool to see something like nature portrayed for once.
Either way, the graphics alone are enough to draw you in. They are definitely lifelike. Now to discuss gameplay. The gameplay of Flower is a little similar to that of Flow's. You press any button to boost while tilting the controller to control the direction of the wind blowing. If you played Flow first, the controls really aren't that difficult. Actually, it's one of the most fun parts of the game. You could choose to gently sway through the level, or quickly blast through it. At some points in some of the levels, there will actually be a blast of wind that hits you and you can navigate through the fast-going environment. I love these parts, they're especially fun. There's no score system and no time limit, so you're free to fly around and explore the landscape as you please. There's also no death or losing the game. Probably the closest thing to it is in the electrical storm level, you can get shocked by old electrical equipment, which usually just pins you away or burns some of your petals. Blooming flowers is the main objective. If you bloom all of some certain ones, you get more to bloom in farther locations. You can also bloom green flowers that are usually hidden deep in the dreams. Completing the accomplishments, like finding the green flowers, will cause the original flower on the windowsill to fully bloom. Now on to the score. I absolutely adore this soundtrack. The music is composed by Vincent Diamante, the same guy who composed music for Chen's first project, Cloud. Each time a flower is bloomed, it tones with the score in the background. It's very well thought out, I have to give them credit. There's some great harmonizing going on here. Including instruments like the piano and the classical guitar, to the woodwinds like the bassoons and the flutes, the music was meant to sound more like the wind gently blowing the petals along this beautiful landscape. Finally, the story. Now, this might seem a little odd to have a story on the count that there's no human-like characters and no dialogue to boot. But somehow, it follows a small story arc. Pretty much you start off in an open field with no sign of human life anywhere. As you progress with the flowers, you find yourself getting closer and closer to a more urban environment, and eventually finding yourself in an old abandoned city. It's not much, but for a game like this that would seem to have no story at all, I find it very interesting that they worked something like this in.
All in all, this has to be my favorite on the pack. I know we haven't talked about the third installment yet, but I go back to this game all the time. It's calming, it's pretty, it's got great music, and it's just fun to begin with. For me, I never get tired of it, and I have to give it a 5 out of 5. No way around it.